Now, for many people, the thought of going all in on EVs is scary. The trip into the unknown, one full of danger, potential mistakes, and especially full of wild, scary stories. But it really isn't anything like that in the real world, as several million drivers in the UK have already discovered. The latest polls show that up to 95% of existing EV drivers will choose another EV, and it's only under 3% expressed any interest at all in looking at a petrol, diesel or hybrid car next time. If they are happy with their EVs, let's look at those fears and scary stories and reveal the facts behind changing to an EV. This is Dave Takes It On. I'm Dave, so settle back for your ICE versus EV comparison. Oh, by the way, I mention ICE quite a lot. It stands for internal combustion engine, one using petrol or diesel. EV obviously stands for electric vehicle. So fact number one, all cars will fail in time. It's what they do, and it explains why there are incredibly few 50-year-old cars on the UK roads. Let's look at your existing petrol or diesel car and compare it to an EV. So your car will have a steel chassis, probably steel bodywork. The drivetrain, that's the engine, gearbox, differential, they're made up of many thousands of parts, and a lot of them are sacrificial. They will fail fairly quickly. Clutch, brake pads, brake discs, water pump, drive belts, bearings, piston rings, seals and gaskets. As it's not a revelation, it's just a hard fact that one or more of these will probably need replacing or repairing during normal car ownership. In addition, the car will need to be serviced regularly to prevent these from failing too prematurely. For example, we change the oil and filter regularly to protect the bearings from failure. That extends their lifespan. Out of interest, oil is changed because it degrades until it's no longer protecting the components, but the filter is there to catch any tiny metallic particles that break off or erode from the bearings or piston rings or cylinders and prevent those from whizzing around your engine, destroying anything they meet. Your engine is specifically designed to erode or gradually wear away. Now, in addition, the biggest killer of all is rust. More cars will fail due to excessive rusting than by blowing up the engine or gearbox. Rust is often the number one car killer. While rusted sections can be cut out, patched and re-welded, the cost rises with the age of the vehicle and the spread. The paintwork also suffers from the tiniest scratch and leads to bubbling and then flaking. Now, when I say cars fail, they can always be repaired or parts replaced indefinitely, but they all reach a stage where the cost, year after year, of constant failures and repairs and replacements will comfortably exceed the value of your car and destroy your faith in it. It'll become more and more unreliable as it ages. Finally, it's going to head off down the scrapyard. Well, secret of car ownership is a bit like pass the parcel. You do not want to be left owning it when that happens. But almost all will eventually fail, and the average lifespan is about 15 to 17 years. Now, an electric car is the exact opposite in many aspects. First, the drivetrain electric motor is made up effectively of two parts: the rotor, which spins around, and the stator, which remains stationary. It's incredibly simple, and that means it is likely to last longer. And as a bonus, during its lifetime, there is nothing to service. The motor is factory sealed for life, and that's expected to be about 500,000 miles. It is not designed to wear away, but to run smoothly until it, like all of the things that we make, will just fail. Likewise, the battery pack is sealed for life. It's just a pack, usually under your floor, that contains thousands of individual cells, each a little bit bigger than a AA battery. Once again, no servicing. It is factory sealed and has a life expectancy typically around 250,000 miles. And yes, it is fully waterproof. You can happily go through Fords that other cars might reject, and that's about it. Likewise, the body shell and sometimes the chassis of an EV is no longer made of steel, which does rust. To make EVs as light as possible, most EV chassis, body shells and body panels are made of aluminium, which does not rust in the same way. Steel rusts by coming into contact with water, forming rust which will then eat its way right through the steel, completely destroying it. Nice shiny aluminium cannot rust as it contains no iron. Instead, it undergoes an oxidation process forming aluminium oxide, and that forms a tough, self-healing, invisible armour that protects the metal from any further decay. Volvo, Zeekr, Teslas, XPeng, Xiaomi, EVs all have both chassis and body panels made of an aluminium alloy that cannot rust, oxidize, or break down. Rust is generally not an issue with EVs, so that, combined with a very much simpler drivetrain and battery, means they have a much longer lifespan. A typical EV might expect to last about 20 to 25 years. Now, this is a really simplified explanation. There are some auxiliary items like air conditioning pumps, which are common to both, but these are usually replaceable and not high-value items like engines and gearboxes. So to sum up, in general, an EV will have a longer lifespan than an ICE car, will require little or no servicing, and cannot be eaten away by rust. So let's go and have a look at some specifics. Fact 2, both ICE drivetrains and EV drivetrains will fail. Let's be honest, both will fail in time. It's what cars do. And when we look at the failure rates and warranty replacements, there is very little difference. Less than 1% are replaced under warranty. But there's a huge hidden difference in that figure of 1%. See, ICE car engines and gearboxes carry a warranty of just 3 or 4 years, and they're built with a total life expectancy of around 100,000 miles. In normal UK motoring, that's around 13 years, and they can obviously be kept on the road much longer, but they become much more and more likely that some major components will fail after that 13 years, resulting in expensive repairs or replacements. EVs are different in that the total life expectancy of the battery pack is nearer 250,000 miles and the drivetrain nearer 500,000 miles, making about 30 years motoring. And the warranty for the battery and drivetrain is a minimum of 8 years, or between 100 and 150,000 miles, whichever occurs first. This makes EVs much better covered by the drivetrain warranty, which could extend to about half the expected life of the EV. Now, battery failure after 2 years, that's a total myth made up by the anti-EV factions who are trying to scare people off buying them. See, in reality, an EV battery pack is likely to get the full 8 years of warranty cover, not 3 years like with an ICE engine, and it's still only about 1% are subject to warranty claims. There is a 99% chance that you will experience no failure of any sort in the first 8 years. And if it does occur, it will be a manufacturing fault and it will cost you nothing to repair or replace. Fact 3, the cost to replace a complete petrol engine is quite similar to replacing a complete EV battery pack. It's many thousands of pounds. If you do a quick Google search, it reveals that replacing a Ford complete engine at a main dealership costs between about £5,000 and £9,000, very similar to Renault, while a Mercedes or BMW complete engine is likely to be between about £9,000 to over £25,000. Full battery replacements likewise vary. ID3 battery costing roughly £12,000 and the Tesla full battery pack between £8,000 and £20,000. So neither is cheap, but it is far more likely you will need to replace an ICE engine during your extended ownership than a complete battery pack. But here, replacing an ICE engine and a battery pack differ. With an ICE engine, the whole engine will need to be replaced. With a battery pack, that is made up of anywhere from 4 to 16 modules, and normally only 1 or 2 will fail. The rest remain perfectly healthy and functional. Many EV main dealerships regularly replace single modules, and that price is significantly lower. That's between about £2,000 and £5,000. Similarly, some EV dealers will replace complete battery packs with used batteries, such as can be recovered from a total write-off after an accident. Or alternatively, many dealers like Tesla actually fully rebuild their own batteries with recycled and tested cells. These too are much cheaper. Tesla typically quotes 8 to 14,000, very similar to Ford or Renault. No ICE dealer that I can find will install a used engine obtained from a wrecked car. Well, so far I've only looked at replacement complete engines or batteries installed at a main dealership. Most of us do not do that. To replace either at a smaller qualified backstreet garage will be much cheaper, and such garages are already abound for both ICE and increasingly for EVs. Well, fact 4, many people worry about how to charge their new EV without destroying the battery. You might have heard you only ever charge to 80%, never let it drop below 20%, or you're going to destroy it. While some manufacturers tell you always charge to 100%. Some say top up once a week, others say plug in every night. This can be very confusing, so let's break it down. First, every EV on sale today has a very sophisticated battery management system, which has one single job to do: to protect your battery from any harm or damage you might cause. And it is very, very good at its job, such that there is very little that you can do that will get past it and damage your battery. There is no need to worry about you damaging your battery. Then there is power, and again, the BMS battery management system does its job. You cannot harm, for example, a 30-watt desk lamp by plugging it into a 3-kilowatt 13-amp socket, nor can you harm your EV if you plug it into the slowest or fastest public charger you can find out there. It will only ever take what it can handle and what it needs, so there's no need to worry there. But first, what type of battery does your preferred EV have? Well, just like you might ask, what fuel do I put in an ICE car, petrol or diesel, so you can get NMC or LFP batteries in your new EV, and both behave quite differently. NMC, that's nickel, manganese, cobalt, are the original batteries and still found in long range and performance models, as they pack a very mighty punch for their size. But more recently, LFP, as lithium iron phosphate batteries were introduced, which pack a lot less power, but they're very much cheaper. And they're now quite common in the budget or base models where price, rather than outright performance, is more important. So now let's tackle the question I get asked most often. How should I charge it and how often? Can I harm the battery if I get it wrong? So here goes. Now, the first and only rule: nothing you can do or will destroy your battery. But some things you do are better and kinder to your battery than others. Let's go back to your own ICE car. You could do flat-out acceleration, wheel spinning, tyres screaming every single time you pull away from the traffic lights or junction, then slam on your brakes at the very last second. The car will take it, it won't destroy it, but it will have two effects. First, it will use much more fuel. Secondly, it will cause a lot more wear and tear to the car. Just ask yourself, if I do that flat-out acceleration slam on the brakes every single time, is my car likely to last longer or shorter? Even an idiot will understand that while that style of driving will not instantly destroy the car, it will shorten the life of the engine, wear out the clutch quicker, gearbox and brakes, and it will use far more fuel. Now, with an EV, it actually operates differently. Treat it like a racing car, and the motor, battery and brakes will not wear appreciably faster. It can take it very much better. Now, it will use more electricity to drive the same distance, but very little, if any, additional wear and tear. But your battery is different. Fact 5. While the electric motors are quite happy always operating at full throttle or under full braking, how you treat the battery will determine how long that lasts. And here we find the reason for so much contradictory advice on information. Manufacturers cannot expect you to read several pages or chapters about how to look after it to the very best. They need a quick and easy way to make sure you do the least damage. Often that's just one sentence. That advice will be generic, not specific. One manufacturer might say, well, plug it in every day, charge to 100%. Another might say, only charge it when it gets down to 20%, then only charge up to 80%. So why the difference? Well, rule number 1, all batteries can happily be charged briefly to 100% and then drained briefly right down to 0. It's exactly like a petrol tank in that respect. Full or empty, it makes little difference. But while a full or empty tank will not affect the engine, with an EV, a battery full or empty does make a difference. If there is one single rule or guide to follow, it is to avoid draining your battery down to 0% and then leaving it there for a long time, days or weeks. Likewise, you should avoid charging it to 100% and then leaving it there for a long time, days or weeks. Either of those will cause the battery to deteriorate faster, and that's as if you were driving the petrol car like a Formula One racing car. Yes, you can do it, but you really shouldn't do it on a regular basis, just once in a while. So how about when the manufacturer states charge to 100%? Is that wrong? Well, strangely, it isn't. It just means that you can happily charge to 100%. Just don't do it if you know you're not going to be using the car for a while. All batteries, NMC and LFP, much prefer a nice steady middle-of-the-road charge, maybe up to 70%, no more than 80%, and never let it drop below about 20 or 30. That is battery heaven, and you will get a very long and trouble-free battery life if you can do this. Now, in reality, for most drivers who cannot charge at home, you normally only need to top up once a week, just like you did with petrol. So try to charge to 70 or 80% and only go and find that charger once it gets down to about 20%. Now, for home chargers, charge only to about 70 or 80%, but you can do it each night, set it up on the schedule, and then leave it plugged in when it's not being used. Then for that long journey, charge LFP up to 100%, NMC to 95% immediately before setting off. So why do manufacturers state charge to 100% once a week or so? And that is simple chemistry. For LFP batteries only, they have a very flat power band, and your EV finds it difficult to accurately calculate remaining range. The reading can drift off the correct figure over time. So to give it a reference point, just charge it to 100% once in a while to reset it. Now, NMC does not need this. Now, to finish, I've got a quick fire round. Your battery will last longer than you own your EV. When looking for a public charge, understand that all offer exactly the same electricity straight from the grid, so just choose the cheapest you can find. Battery fires are a thing of the past, but if it still worries you, choose LFP. They are virtually fireproof. You don't need any apps or RFID anymore, just use contactless. You never need an adapter. Just like all mobile devices now USB-C, use USB-C. So all EVs and all chargers are now CCS2 as standard. If you can charge at home and run short on a trip, only charge enough to get you home. If your EV came with a 3-pin plug charger, it's probably all you need. If your EV doesn't come with a free 3-pin plug charger, just buy one. It's about £100. It is probably all you will need. Now, EV batteries, unlike petrol or diesel engines, don't end their life in the scrapyard. They will serve a long and healthy life as an EV car battery, but when they get too tired, they will probably end up in static storage, like running Rome Airport electrics. And once they reach the end of their usefulness there, that can be many years, they can then be dismantled and 95% of the battery cells can be fully recycled. They are most likely to end up in the battery cells in a new EV battery pack in 20 or 30 years' time. The batteries are the least of your worries. Don't let them stop you from switching up to an EV. I hope you found that helpful. I'm Dave.